Now, I've been guilty of doing pros and cons of videos on this channel for over the course of the last year, but no more. No more cons and no more pros to living anywhere. Now, what I've learned after making those videos is that there is just no way for me to list all of the reasons why you should make a move and all of the reasons why you shouldn't. Also, someone's pro could be a con and vice versa. You just can't please everyone. So I'm gonna come at this from a different perspective and give you the straight goods on each area. I'm gonna talk about the similarities and the differences of each community, so by the end of this video, I'll have hopefully given you a good amount of information to help make a decision if you are stuck about relocating to either Kelowna or Penticton. All right, let's get after it. Welcome to Live, Love, Kelowna. Okay, something that you probably don't know about me is that I actually lived in Penticton for a year while I was going to college. Now, it was an interesting city to live in as a young man, a young 19-year-old man. The summer was fantastic. The fall and winter, from what I remember, not so much. Now, maybe this qualifies me to make comments on the community, and maybe it doesn't, but I'm gonna give it a go anyway. Now, one of the biggest similarities between Kelowna and Penticton are the beaches, and of course, the sharing of Okanagan Lake. For those that don't know the geography, Penticton is at the extreme south end of the lake, where Kelowna is a lot more north and is primarily on the east side. Now, both communities have a ton of beaches within walking distance of where you live. Being that Kelowna is a larger city, some of those communities like Rutland aren't going to have easy access to the beaches by walking. Whereas in Penticton, if you live in the downtown core, getting to the beach on Okanagan Lake is pretty easy. Of course, we can't forget about beautiful Skaha Lake, its beachfront and awesome park. Now, the hard cost of living like gas, groceries, insurance, and utilities in Kelowna and Penticton is fairly similar. And I'll get into real estate in just a minute. Gas is pretty close to the same price in each location. Groceries are fairly similar. Of course, Penticton doesn't have a Costco, so you aren't buying in bulk like you can in Kelowna. ICBC is the provincial insurer, so your vehicle insurance is going to be pretty close to the same in each location. Now, you also have the same options for utility providers, and I'm assuming that because these providers provide electricity and natural gas delivery for about the same price, that there's not likely to be much difference there either. Now, both communities are situated in the Okanagan Valley, and there isn't much deviation in terms of weather patterns. It's not like it'll be snowing in Kelowna and sunny and dry in Penticton. Both communities have very comparable summers and winters, which is to say hot, with almost 2,000 hours of sunshine in the summer and pretty mild and cloudy in the winter. Now, the growth of both Penticton and Kelowna is somewhat restricted. I would say Penticton more so because of it having Okanagan Lake to the north and Skaha Lake to the south. There isn't a lot of movement available to the east and to the west. Now, Kelowna is similar given where the lake is situated. The access to land is different, as a lot of land is either First Nations land or it's in the Agricultural Land Reserve, or ALR, which means in short that it is controlled by the government and is not allowed to be developed without the say of the provincial government of the day. Now, quite honestly, that might be the best way to alleviate some of the housing shortage here in Kelowna, by releasing some of that land to developers, but I digress. Okay, now that we know how similar these two communities are, let's look at some of the differences. Now, the most obvious one being the population and some of the demographics. Penticton's population is sitting at approximately 37,000 people, with a large percentage, approximately 30.3%, of that population sitting at 65 years of age or older. I believe the median age of Penticton is sitting around 52 years old, compared to Kelowna, which has a population almost 4 times the size of Penticton at around 150,000 people, and a somewhat younger population with the average age sitting around 42 years old. Now, the average household income in Kelowna, according to the last census in 2021, was approximately $102,000 per year, where in Penticton it is quite a bit less, coming in at about $68,000 per year. Of course, real estate is going to be less expensive in Penticton, where the benchmark price of a single-family home comes in at $767,100 as of January, and the benchmark in Kelowna is quite a bit higher at $966,000. So yes, you might be making less in Penticton, but your housing is quite a bit cheaper in the smaller center. Now, townhouses and single-family homes are similar in terms of the gap in benchmarks, but there's a $200,000 difference between Kelowna and Penticton. Where there's similarity amongst the differences is in the apartment-style condos. The benchmark price for a condo in Kelowna right now is about $490,000, and in Penticton, it would cost you about $456,000 to get into that market. So not quite the $200,000 discrepancy. Okay, so you would think, given the size of Penticton versus Kelowna, that the commute times would be way worse in the larger center. Now, according to Point 2 Homes, though, you could be wrong. That being said, having lived in both locations, I'm not entirely sure on the data here. Point 2 Homes suggests that the commute time in Kelowna is about 18 minutes, so it should take you about 18 minutes to get anywhere you need to go in the city, which I believe, after having lived here for 2.5 years, to be fairly accurate. Now, it also states that it takes you 15 minutes to get anywhere you need to go in Penticton, which I think is laughable, actually. When I lived there all the way back in 1993, the city was pretty close to the same size that it is today. I don't ever remember it taking me 15 minutes to get from my house to school or the pub or the golf course. It was always way less than that. Now, I think it's safe to say that this is probably one of the biggest differences between the two communities, even though that the data that I sourced is quite likely flawed. Okay, lastly, one glaring difference is in access to shopping. Both communities have amazing farmers markets, but Penticton has fewer of the big box style stores that Kelowna has. Of course, Kelowna has far less than a major center like Vancouver or Calgary, but certainly has more than the rest of the central and south Okanagan. Now, no matter if you live in Vernon, Oliver, Osoyoos, or Penticton, if you want to hit the Costco, you're traveling to Kelowna. One prime example of what that larger center can offer. Now, these aren't pros or cons. I like to look at them as similarities and differences between these two communities. Now, did I hit all of them? Of course not. Even if this video went for 20 or 30 minutes, there's no way that I could hit all of them. So if you're still stuck making the decision, then maybe we should chat. Ultimately, this comes down to whether you want to live in a smaller community in the Okanagan like Penticton or in the largest city in the RDCO in Kelowna. Now, this is likely going to come down to how you picture your lifestyle and realistically where you're at in your life in the moment. If you want to chat about making that move into or out of Kelowna or Penticton, there are a couple of different ways for us to connect. You can always text or call me at 403-827-7527. You can email me info@livelovekelowna.ca, or you can scroll down into the description below. There's a link there. You can go ahead and click it where you can schedule a time with me in my calendar to either have a chat, jump on a Zoom, or potentially meet in person. All right, that's all I got for you. We'll see you on the next video.